As we journey through the grand tapestry of life, as we build knowledge and relationships, we learn skills and gain experience. What we do with them is up to us. In our fast-paced modern world, it is easy to become overwhelmed or distracted by all the noise. We are often told to chase our goals and dreams, that the sky is the limit, and we should shoot for the stars. However, the word chase itself means that what you are after is actively running away, like a carrot on a stick. The more you reach, the more it eludes you. Our modern world is structured around this cycle of relentless pursuit. The Stoics would argue differently. They suggest that the wise do not chase, they attract. Do not chase attention, attract it. Do not chase success, cultivate the character, effort, and strategy that draw it in. The difference lies in posture and principle, frantic motion versus grounded magnetism. With this perspective, we explore the Stoic mindset of drawing success through intentional stillness, strategic motion, and profound self-awareness. When our lives become anchored in internal control, we shift from running after to rising into. We become like the spider with its web, not the scattered fly. Let us begin. Chapter 1: The Power of Stillness. Be grounded like the earth, in a world obsessed with hustle. Stillness seems like stagnation, but the Stoics understood that real strength often looks like stillness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." Stillness is not about doing nothing. It is about choosing with wisdom what deserves your energy. It is a disciplined pause, a practiced restraint, and a deep acknowledgement that not all motion is progress. Stillness is the posture that allows clarity to surface, the fertile ground where reason takes root, like the web of the spider. Stillness is constructed with foresight, precision, and patience. Each thread serves a purpose and nothing is added without intent. When we learn to still the mind and calm the emotional waves inside us, we become more powerful. Panic clouds judgment. Fear disrupts timing. Desperation sabotages outcomes. A still mind makes room for true understanding, for the wisdom to see past illusions and into reality. It invites what we seek to come toward us because it is no longer blocked by frantic noise. Consider how we behave when we are unsure of ourselves. We over-message, over-apologize, overextend, and overcompensate. But those who are grounded, those who lead with calm and clarity, become a magnet. Stillness attracts by creating contrast in a world that is constantly shouting and rushing. Stillness also cultivates discernment. It acts as a filter through which we can see clearly what aligns with our values and what is simply a distraction in disguise. When the mind is calm and unshaken, our perception sharpens. We begin to distinguish between fleeting temptations and meaningful pursuits. In the absence of stillness, we find ourselves constantly reacting to external stimuli, impulsively taking on commitments, diving into relationships we're not ready for, and saying yes to paths that have little to do with our deeper purpose. When we lack discernment, we chase mirages. We find ourselves exhausted, not because we are doing too much, but because we are doing the wrong things. Stillness gives us the power to pause, to look inward, and to ask, is this aligned with who I am and what I value? Without stillness, we waste energy chasing empty goals, entering relationships that confuse us, accepting opportunities that don't align with our values. In this scattered state, we dilute our impact and weaken our sense of direction. Like a compass spinning without north, our actions become unmoored from intention. Stillness creates the conditions for thoughtful movement. It helps us reclaim our time and focus it like a beam of light toward what truly matters. With stillness, we no longer act from fear of missing out or from the noise of external expectations. We act from depth, purpose, and clarity. We act when the path is right, not merely when it is available. With stillness, we begin to see what truly deserves our movement, and only then do we act. Not frantically, not half-heartedly, but with full intent, focused presence, and unwavering direction. We become able to distinguish between reactive impulses and purposeful decisions. Each step we take becomes a statement of clarity, a commitment to move in the direction of our higher values, not our lower urges. We no longer rush into conversations to prove our worth or accept tasks out of guilt or social pressure. Our movements become fewer, but each one is rooted in a clear why. This economy of action born from stillness gives our decisions power and depth. When our energy is no longer fractured, it becomes focused, like sunlight through a magnifying glass. Even ordinary effort becomes potent when directed with precision. This focus attracts those who seek substance. It opens doors not through force, but through undeniable alignment. When we move from stillness, people feel our presence before we even speak. It is the quiet power of someone who knows their direction. So act not because the world demands it of you, but because your inner compass compels you forward. Act only when you have rooted yourself in that still center where truth resides. Then each step becomes more than action. It becomes intention set into motion. Start each day with intentional silence, whether through meditation, reflection, or journaling. Create space before you act. Ask yourself, am I responding or reacting? Am I still enough to listen to what matters most? Chapter 2. Identify, then engage. The first step of the hunt. Lions do not begin their pursuit by sprinting across the savannah. They identify, they observe, they wait. Every muscle is still, every breath intentional. Their hunt begins not with motion, but with awareness. The Stoics understood this wisdom. The Stoics taught that impulsiveness is the death of wisdom. Seneca famously said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And the same can be said of poor decision-making. Wisdom begins in the pause. In our own lives, we are often pressured to act immediately, respond to every message, react to every event, make decisions before we've even considered what we want. But true power lies in restraint. You do not need to respond to every provocation. You do not need to act on every fleeting urge. In fact, the more grounded you become, the less you feel compelled to pursue. And the more life aligns in your favor, the less you chase, the more you attract what is truly meant for you, the more you can sit in your own stillness, the more the right opportunities will begin to seek you out. Not because you're passive, but because you've become intentional. When you slow down, when you observe carefully, when you sit with your feelings before moving, you preserve your energy for what actually matters. You stop wasting motion, stop scattering your power. You begin to recognize that your attention is a currency and it should not be spent impulsively. You shift from trying to control outcomes to curating your inputs, your presence, your preparation, your perspective, and your principles. Life is not a race to be run in a panic. It is a process of alignment, and that alignment begins with discernment. Before you can attract the right things, you must first become the kind of person who knows what they truly want and why. That is where the Stoic path begins. The first rule of Stoic attraction is clarity. But clarity is not simply having a goal. It's understanding the origin of that goal. It's not just asking, what do I want, but why do I want it? Is your pursuit born out of fear, insecurity, ego? Or is it emerging from a calm inner conviction, a desire to fulfill your duty to live with virtue to serve a deeper purpose? Clarity is about removing the fog of comparison, letting go of inherited desires and eliminating the noise of trends. What are you chasing? And more importantly, who benefits if you do? Without this clarity, you become a pawn to externals. You chase shadows. You pursue things that look good on paper but feel hollow when you get them. You exhaust yourself collecting trophies that were never yours to begin with. As the Stoics warned, we suffer more from imagination than from reality. If your desires are unclear, your life will become a reflection of confusion. In a world that never stops broadcasting opinions, achievements, and applause, many people chase approval. They shape their lives not around meaning, but around metrics, likes, followers, praise. But the truth is, any approval that must be chased is inherently unstable. It is borrowed, conditional, transactional, and always at risk of being revoked. That is not love, and that is not respect. That is dependency. And dependency is the first crack in your inner foundation. Dependency on external validation creates a fragile self-worth. You begin to measure your value through someone else's lens, and in doing so, you relinquish your freedom. Seneca warned us not to tie our happiness to things we cannot control. Approval, praise, admiration, these are all beyond our command. The moment we begin chasing them, we place our emotional peace into hands that may not care to hold it. True respect, deep connection, and lasting success are drawn to those who operate with quiet confidence and unwavering integrity. They don't need to proclaim their worth because it is visible in how they live. When you are clear about your values, when you know what you stand for and why, you no longer feel the urge to explain or prove yourself. You no longer look outward for direction or identity. Instead, you begin to live from the inside out. That inner alignment creates outer attraction. It's not about impressing others with noise, it's about embodying your truth with consistency and grace. People are drawn to stability in a chaotic world. They are drawn to those who move with intention instead of impulse, who walk with grounded conviction rather than reactionary steps. They sense when someone is anchored. They recognize the rare quality of presence in a person who does not waver with trends or seek to mimic the moods of the crowd. This presence is compelling. It does not scream, yet it is heard. It does not demand, yet it commands attention. Like the steady flame that neither flickers with the wind nor dims with the darkness. It quietly illuminates. Those who operate this way become lighthouses in a stormy world. They are rare, and that rarity attracts others not by chasing them, but by embodying a standard. And the world hungry for truth and steadiness moves toward that light. So stop chasing fleeting validation and start standing firm in your truth. Do the inner audit, take inventory of your beliefs, identify your core values. Those principles that remain unchanged regardless of time, place, or audience, and let them become your compass. When you know who you are, you stop negotiating your worth. You no longer beg for acceptance or stretch yourself into shapes that don't suit your soul. When your life is organized around character rather than craving, you don't need to chase. You draw in what is compatible with your essence. What truly matters to your character will never require begging, pretending, or compromising. That which is in alignment with your highest self does not need to be hunted down. It will flow toward you when you create the conditions to receive it. It will be attracted by the quiet strength of your example, by the unmistakable calm of someone who lives in alignment with their inner law. It is not through volume, but through virtue that your life speaks loudest. You won't have to explain yourself to be understood. In fact, those who truly resonate with your essence will understand you before you say a word. The truth in your tone, your decisions, and your actions will speak for you. When your internal compass is fixed on virtue, when you live by reason, discipline, courage, and justice, your life becomes a living signal. A signal not of need but of clarity, not of urgency but of stability. A beacon for the kind of opportunities, relationships, and outcomes that are not built on chance but on compatibility. These things arrive not all at once, not as sudden windfalls, but as steady arrivals. Like ships guided to a lighthouse. They come gradually, then all at once, sustainably, silently, but undeniably. Let attraction be a byproduct of your inner work. Let your growth do the talking, while And let your habits be the loudest thing in the room. Let success find you still, but prepared, fully alive in your moment, yet undistracted by what hasn't arrived. Trust the rhythm of nature. Flowers bloom without forcing it. Rivers flow without resistance. You too are meant to move with intention, not desperation. Let the world come to you, not because you sat idle, but because you stood grounded in your philosophy, rooted in your clarity, unwavering in your sense of self, untouchable in your commitment to integrity. That is the Stoic way. That is the way of those who rise without running, who gain without grasping, who attract without shouting. Define your personal principles. Write them down. Then use them as a filter for decisions. If a goal requires you to betray your principles, it is not worth chasing. No reward is worth the cost of compromising your integrity. When your actions are misaligned with your values, even success feels hollow. A goal that demands you silence your conscience, ignore your wisdom, or suppress your deeper sense of right and wrong is not a goal. It is a temptation disguised as opportunity. The Stoics remind us that virtue is the only true good, and anything that leads us away from it, no matter how shiny or lucrative, leads us away from the path of true fulfillment. A worthy goal should challenge you to grow, not compel you to shrink. It should refine your character, not distort it. So measure every ambition by its cost to your soul. Ask not just what you are gaining, but who you are becoming in the pursuit. If the price is your peace, your honesty, or your alignment with your core values, then the goal is counterfeit. Choose instead the goals that allow you to remain whole. Chapter 3: Strategic Action. Only strike when you are ready. Tigers don't chase every sound in the jungle. They remain still more than they move. They listen. They observe. They measure. Their stillness is not hesitation. It is precision. Every flick of the ear, every blink, every breath is deliberate. They are not acting out of fear of missing out, but out of an acute understanding that their energy is sacred. Only when the odds are unmistakably in their favor do they move. Only when success becomes a matter of timing, not luck, do they strike. This is not laziness. It is wisdom born from experience. It is restraint refined through instinct, honed by necessity, and guided by a deep awareness that wasted motion can cost everything. This is the essence of strategic action, the kind the Stoics revere and preach. Strategic action is not inaction. It is not hesitation born from doubt. It is not procrastination dressed as patience. It is reserved as deliberate motion chosen with precision and made only when the foundation is firm. The tiger doesn't question its ability. It knows its strength, but it also knows that strength must be paired with timing. The Stoic, like the tiger, does not waste effort on what is beneath them or beyond them. They know that not every opportunity is an invitation. Not every path is worthy of pursuit. They wait until they are certain, until their vision is clear, their footing is steady, and their mind is rooted in principle. Then, and only then, do they move. Stoicism teaches us that wise action is not the product of urgency, but of preparation. Before bold steps, there must be deep understanding. Before public expression, private mastery. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In a world that rewards announcements and declarations, the Stoic is silent until they are undeniable. Their life becomes the proof. Their consistency becomes their voice. Their results whisper what others shout. And in that silence, they build something far more powerful than approval: authenticity. We do not attract results by broadcasting intent. We attract them by quietly becoming the kind of person those results are drawn to. The person who prepares in solitude, the person who practices when no one is watching, the person who sharpens the blade long before the fight. Strategic action is not reactive. It is responsive. It comes from presence, not panic. It flows from rooted calm, not scattered chaos. And it only becomes possible when we are anchored deeply in what we value most. Too many people are constantly busy, but busyness is not the same as progress. It's easy to confuse activity with accomplishment, but the two are not equal. Motion, for motion's sake, is not movement toward a meaningful end. In truth, many people are moving so quickly, so urgently that they fail to realize they're simply running in circles. They are checking boxes, filling calendars, and racing toward deadlines. But their lives remain hollow, disconnected from their core values. Their days are packed, but their souls are starved. The Stoics sees through this illusion with sharp clarity. They understand that busyness is often an anesthetic, numbing us from discomfort, shielding us from the inner silence where true insight arises. Unexamined activity becomes a sophisticated form of self-deception. It keeps us occupied and distracted so we don't have to face what is unresolved within us. Often we stay busy because it's easier than sitting still. Stillness demands that we confront ourselves. It demands that we feel the weight of our misaligned priorities and the discomfort of untended wounds. But that's exactly where growth begins. Not in the constant doing, but in the brave being. True growth requires stillness. It requires us to stop, to question, to re-enter. It requires uncomfortable reflection, the kind most people avoid by diving headfirst into more work, more errands, more noise. Activity without direction is noise. It is stress disguised as ambition. It is like sprinting toward a finish line you never chose, only to arrive exhausted, disoriented, and unfulfilled. Its energy poured into every open door instead of the right one. The Stoic does not fall into this trap. They don't chase what glitters. They evaluate what aligns. They don't leap simply because others are leaping. They understand that the herd is often running away from meaning, not toward it. True strength is quiet. True preparation is invisible. And true success, lasting, meaningful, rooted success, comes not to the loudest, but to the most ready. The Stoics' preparation is internal. It is not for show, it is not rushed, it is deliberate, disciplined, and dignified. They know that opportunity favors the steady more than the speedy. They resist the temptation to appear busy just to feel important. Instead, they stay focused on becoming capable. They know their moment will come, not through force or frenzy, but through calm, continual readiness. So they ready themselves brick by brick, hour by hour. They don't wait for the right moment to begin. They begin preparing now so that when the moment arrives, they're not scrambling, they're stepping up. They don't just hope for the opportunity, they become someone the opportunity hopes for. They sharpen their thinking, they refine their character, they strengthen their spirit. They train in the shadows so that when the light hits, they are not surprised. They are prepared. They act not to prove they belong, but because they already know they do. Not to earn validation, but because their validation comes from within. That is why they can remain still when others panic. That is why they can act swiftly and wisely when others hesitate. They've done the work. They've earned their readiness. This is the nature of strategic action. It is not fear. It is calibration. It is patience with a purpose. It is silence that speaks through outcome. You are not hiding when you pause. You are forging strength. You are not avoiding when you step back. You are aligning. You are not late. You are becoming. And when the moment comes, as it always does, you will meet it not with scattered panic or half-paired energy, but with the solid power of someone who has been building quietly all along. You will not fumble the opportunity. You will seize it with both hands because you were not just waiting. You were preparing. You were growing. You were fortifying the unseen, so that when it's time to strike, you do not hope. You know when it's time to rise. You do not tremble. you step forward. Stillness has become your weapon, clarity has become your edge, and preparation has become your power. Focus on daily habits that build strength over time. This is the bedrock of real lasting achievement. The invisible architecture upon which greatness is built. Develop routines that compound gradually, like interest in a savings account or drops filling a jar. These small disciplined actions performed consistently become the foundation of personal transformation. If your goal is financial independence, don't chase flashy investments. Build consistency. Set clear goals. Track your spending patterns. Live below your means. And automate good behaviors. Learn to delay gratification and train yourself to be satisfied with the quiet victory of restraint. Invest regularly in what you understand with patience and trust in the process. Avoid the temptation to gamble for rapid returns because what comes quickly is often the first to disappear. Sustainable success comes from patient discipline, from knowing that you are planting seeds that will blossom slowly but abundantly if nurtured well. If your goal is mastery, don't chase shortcuts. Practice daily. Mastery isn't an event. It's a rhythm, a devotion, a commitment that survives boredom and fatigue. It's the willingness to return to the basics again and again, even when they no longer excite you. It's the humility to know that progress often looks like quiet repetition. True mastery is choosing deliberate, focused repetition over reckless ambition and scattered effort. It's doing what others won't do long enough to get what others won't have. Keep sharpening your tools, not for the applause, not for validation, but because excellence is its own quiet reward. Because becoming better is worthy for its own sake. Let your daily rituals shape the person who naturally attracts the results you once thought you had to chase. Let who you are becoming be the magnet for what you desire rather than what you desire dictating who you pretend to be. Chapter 4. Detachment from outcome. You control the effort, not the result. The Stoics were obsessed with one idea: control what you can, release what you can't. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Chasing is rooted in attachment. We chase because we feel we must have something. When we don't get it, we spiral. But attraction flows from detachment. It says, "I do not need this, but I would welcome it." Detachment is not apathy. It is the highest form of maturity. A clear-eyed ability to participate fully in life without becoming enslaved by any single outcome. It is engagement without dependence, where your worth is not tied to results and your happiness is not held hostage by things you cannot control. When you are detached, you become free. You no longer chase approval, outcomes, or recognition. You pursue excellence not for the applause it might bring, but for the peace it cultivates within. You work with intention, not obsession, with clarity, not compulsion. You become someone whose focus is internal, whose fulfillment comes from alignment rather than external validation. In relationships, careers, or creative pursuits, this detachment becomes magnetic. People are drawn not to neediness but to presence. Desperation repels because it signals a void that others must fill. But grounded presence attracts because it radiates sufficiency. You are no longer trying to grip, convince, or cling. You simply are. You become someone who others trust. Not because of what you offer them, but because of the stillness you carry within. When you are no longer ruled by craving, you become the rare one, the one who moves through life calmly, powerfully, and with purpose. When you set a goal, clarify your reason with absolute honesty. Ask yourself, is this goal a reflection of my deepest values? Or is it a response to external pressure? Is it born from a place of purpose? Or is it a pursuit for validation? applause, or approval. Stoicism teaches us that motives matter. If your aim is shaped by vanity or insecurity, even achievement will feel empty. But if it springs from integrity and a commitment to grow, then the path itself becomes meaningful. Once your reason is rooted in virtue, release your grip on the outcome. This is where the Stoic path separates itself from the common way of the world. Obsession with results clouds the mind and weighs down the spirit. It steals your attention from the present moment and traps your peace in a hypothetical future. The Stoic knows that while goals guide, they do not define. Focus instead on the inputs: your discipline, your preparation, your resilience. These are the stones you can lay each day. These are the bricks that build your foundation. The process is where your control lies, and the process is where your peace lives. Let each day be its own opportunity to show up with intention. Let each small action be a reflection of your standard, not your ambition for applause. The present moment becomes your canvas. Not because it guarantees glory, but because it is the only space in which true virtue can be practiced. When your efforts are aligned with principle, they become an end in themselves. They are no longer merely tools for success, but expressions of who you are. Excellence for the Stoic is not about reward. It is about alignment with the highest version of yourself, even when no one is watching. It is about committing to principle over performance, virtue over validation. It is about giving your best not to win, not to impress, but because it is in your nature to do so. The Stoic recognizes that the greatest fulfillment comes not from what you get, but from who you become in the process of effort. Every action becomes an opportunity to express integrity, courage, discipline, and wisdom. You don't act well to be seen. You act well to remain whole. It is about making your values visible through your behavior, allowing your choices to reflect what you believe, not just what you say. This pursuit of internal excellence becomes a compass that orients you even when the path is unclear. You don't need to control everything around you because you've taken command of your own character. You find freedom not in success, but in the discipline of showing up with intention. Let excellence be its own reward, and you will no longer need to chase outcomes. You'll stop searching for permission to feel worthy because you've already earned it in silence. You'll find that the right people, the right opportunities, and the right results begin to appear. Not out of luck, but in response to your inner clarity. They will find you in time, drawn by the consistency of your character, the quiet force of your effort, and the trustworthiness of your presence. Excellence attracts because it is rare, and the rarest power is the one that does not announce itself. Let your life be the kind that needs no explanation, only observation. Let it speak in tone, in conduct, in calm. Let it demonstrate through who you are, not what you claim. In a world obsessed with image, the Stoic becomes a lighthouse of substance. Be that light. Let excellence radiate quietly through every corner of your being. Chapter 5, Build the Inner Citadel. Make yourself unignorable. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the inner citadel, the fortress within that no one can conquer. This is not a metaphor for escape. It is a call to build your unshakable center. Your inner citadel is your core character, your moral backbone, your resilient soul. It is the well-defended sanctuary of your deepest principles and highest values. This is the place from which true attraction radiates. When you cultivate inner peace, strength, and clarity, people sense it. Not because you speak loudly, but because you carry yourself with a quiet power that doesn't flinch in chaos. The strongest magnet is not noise but presence, not performance, but principle. In a world that is constantly performing for attention, the Stoic becomes a breath of fresh air, a calm and grounded presence that doesn't need to boast. The Stoic attracts not by shouting their worth, but by embodying it. They let their decisions speak for them. They let consistency do what charm and charisma cannot. They become a living example of alignment between values and action. And that alignment is magnetic. You cannot attract what you are not prepared to hold. Many want love but have not yet learned to give it freely. Many want to lead yet have not learned to follow their own principles. Many want success but cannot carry the weight of responsibility that comes with it. This is why character must come first. Building your inner citadel means doing the hard work of becoming the kind of person who can hold what they ask for. When you build your character first, you don't just attract more, you attract better. Better people, better opportunities, better outcomes because your standards have become non-negotiable. Your presence becomes your philosophy walking. It becomes the silent signal you send before you say a single word. People can feel when someone has done the inner work, when they have built themselves from the inside out. It's not about posture or tone of voice. It's about the quiet integrity that radiates from within. It's about the steadiness that cannot be faked. The kind of energy that makes others feel safer, clearer, more at ease in your presence. Be someone who speaks without needing to convince, who influences without needing to control. Influence, when grounded in virtue, does not force. It invites. Be someone others feel grounded around. Not because you dominate a room, but because you don't need to. You're not performing. You're not hunting approval with every glance or word. You're settled, centered. Sure, that kind of presence is not loud, but it is unmistakably felt. It is the kind of presence that calms others without saying a word, that stabilizes rooms in chaos, that reassures not through charisma, but through clarity. It cuts through the noise without raising its voice. It draws respect without demanding it. And that presence is the result of years of private effort, moments of choosing discipline over ease, clarity over chaos, virtue over convenience. It is built in silence, not in grand gestures or public declarations, but in the lonely decisions when no one is watching. It is in those quiet crossroads where you choose principle over comfort, long-term over short-term, virtue over ease. It is shaped by how you respond to setbacks. Not just whether you get back up, but how you speak to yourself in the fall. It is shaped by how you hold your boundaries, not aggressively, but calmly and consistently, even when it costs you approval. It is shaped by how you choose truth, even when lies seem easier, how you opt for clarity over convenience, knowing full well that truth might isolate you, but falsehood will corrupt you. This kind of presence doesn't appear overnight. It cannot be manufactured or mimicked. It is forged in the fire of everyday self-respect. It is the product of choosing again and again to live with alignment, to carry yourself with dignity even when no one affirms it, to cultivate a standard that is not swayed by applause or criticism. You become the kind of person who doesn't just look strong. You are strong. Not through domination, but through inner discipline. Not through volume, but through depth. That kind of presence is rare, and rare is always in demand. In a world saturated with projection, performance, and posturing, the Stoic is the one who stands firm not because they are indifferent, but because they are anchored. Their stillness is not coldness, it is stability. Their silence is not avoidance, it is wisdom. They have trained themselves to respond instead of react, to reflect instead of explode. And that reflection becomes a mirror that others see themselves in. In a culture of reaction, they bring reflection. In a world obsessed with becoming somebody, the Stoic is content to simply be authentically, consistently, and deliberately. They do not manufacture identity to please the crowd. They cultivate it quietly in solitude. They do not brand themselves. They do not beg for attention. They do not seek validation through noise. They do the work. They show up when no one is watching. They become solid in who they are. And that solidity becomes undeniable. They become someone others trust. Not because they are perfect, but because they are stable. They do not market themselves as valuable. They become valuable. And the world, which is always watching, even when it pretends not to be, notices. And slowly but surely, it responds not to the loudest, not to the flashiest, but to the real. Because the real is rare. It gravitates toward those who are grounded, steady, and trustworthy. Toward those who do not need to perform in order to be. Toward those who do not crumble in chaos. That quiet fire, the one that doesn't flicker in the wind, is what people feel safest around. And in a world full of noise, there is nothing more attractive than someone who doesn't need to shout to be heard because their very being is already speaking. Spend time every week reflecting on your integrity. This isn't just a mental checklist. It's a deep, intentional practice of reconnection with your values. Sit in quiet, uninterrupted space and ask yourself the hard questions. Where am I not showing up in alignment with who I say I am? Where are my actions out of sync with my principles? Where have I chosen ease over truth or convenience over courage? Let these reflections humble you, not shame you. Let them sharpen your awareness so you can realign. Then make small course corrections, subtle but powerful adjustments in your habits, your speech, your presence. These incremental shifts repeated with sincerity become the very fabric of transformation over time. They strengthen your character and reinforce the kind of presence that doesn't need to be explained. It's felt the more frequently you return to this ritual of integrity, the more magnetic and grounded you become. Chapter 6, The Law of Compounding Character. Stack your wins in silence. In the world of finance, compound interest is said to be the eighth wonder of the world. In Stoicism, the same idea applies to character. The small choices you make, the invisible disciplines you practice, and the standards you refuse to lower. They all accumulate. They build upon each other silently, compounding in depth and value. You don't see the results immediately, but over time you become undeniably strong. The Stoics knew this well. Greatness is not born in a moment. It is built brick by brick. Every day you are casting votes for the kind of person you wish to become. Not with grand gestures, but with the small, often invisible choices that shape your character in quiet ways. Every decision to act with patience instead of impulse. Every moment you choose humility over ego. Every time you pause when you could have reacted. All of these choices add weight to your foundation. They reinforce the structure of who you are becoming. These moments seem small, but they form the architecture of a life well lived. They are the invisible building blocks of identity crafted not for recognition, but for resilience. It is easy to overlook these moments as minor, but they are never meaningless. They are quiet acts of self-define, silent victories that compound over time. Each one is a declaration of your values, even if no one hears it. They are your legacy taking shape, choice by choice, well before the world recognizes it, long before any applause arrives. Like seeds planted in the unseen soil of daily life, they eventually blossom into character. The modern world tends to celebrate moments of public glory, viral moments, dramatic transformations, grand unveilings. But the Stoic does not wait for a spotlight. They are not fueled by visibility. They understand that the real wins are private and that character is forged when no one is watching. They are found in restraint when provoked, in consistency when it's thankless, in choosing what is right even when it is unrewarded or misunderstood. They understand that fame is fleeting, but virtue endures. The person who builds quietly, who refines their inner world with care and patience, becomes undeniable over time. Their integrity becomes a silent magnet, their reliability a rare currency. They don't need to argue for their worth or demand to be seen. Their actions speak with the kind of integrity that can't be ignored. They don't need to compete because their foundation is too strong to be shaken by trends, gossip, or temporary noise. Their presence commands attention, not because it is loud, but because it is whole. We must shift our focus from performance to process, from external validation to internal verification, from craving applause to honoring discipline, from chasing quick hits of satisfaction to cultivating the deeper, slower burn of self-respect, from instant gratification to enduring integrity. This is where real power lives. Not in being admired, but in being aligned. When your actions are rooted in principle rather than performance, your life becomes deeply magnetic. Compounding character is about showing up again and again, not for attention, but for alignment, for honoring who you said you would be, especially when it's inconvenient, for doing the right thing even when no one is clapping. The person who is consistent in silence becomes the person who cannot be ignored when it matters most. They are not remembered for their performance, but for their presence, the quiet gravity of someone who lived with intention, whose legacy was not in the noise they made, but in the steadiness they held through every season of their life. Keep a weekly record, not of your achievements, but of your alignments. This record isn't for praise or proof. It's for clarity and calibration. It's a mirror you hold up to your own soul, a compass that helps you stay true to your course. Write down the moments you acted in accordance with your values. When you told the truth, even though it cost you. When you showed restraint. When it would have been easier to retaliate. When you were generous without recognition or expectation. These are the quiet victories that don't make headlines but build character. Over time, this record becomes more than a journal. It becomes a map of your evolution. You'll begin to see patterns emerge, areas where you consistently show up with integrity, and others that invite more awareness and refinement. These small notes of alignment become your personal currency of truth. They form a trail of evidence that you are living with purpose. These are your real wins, the kind that cannot be taken from you, the kind that do not fade when the spotlight dims. They become your reputation to the world, and more importantly, your identity to yourself. The consistency of these actions, committed in silence, is what solidifies your inner citadel. Chapter 7. Live like the lighthouse. Let the right things come to you. There is a difference between a spotlight and a lighthouse. The spotlight chases attention, scans the horizon for validation, and burns out quickly. The lighthouse stands firm. It does not move. It does not shout. It simply radiates. And in doing so, it guides. It protects. It attracts the right vessels without chasing a single one. The Stoic aims to be like the lighthouse, to stand in virtue, unmoved by the storm, unwavering in principle, to offer light not because they need recognition, but because they have cultivated it within. When you live like the lighthouse, people begin to orient themselves around your stability. You become a reference point in a chaotic world. Let others chase trends. You build truth. Let others scramble to be seen. You remain steady enough to be noticed by those who matter. The people who chase visibility often become invisible the moment the trend shifts. But those who are grounded in timeless values, who build slowly, steadily, and with substance, outlast the noise. Trends fade, truth stays. Flash gets attention, but depth earns trust. In a world addicted to the new, be committed to what is true. There's a certain quiet power in choosing to stay anchored when the world is swept up in performance. While others are adjusting themselves to fit in, you focus on refining who you truly are. You develop a presence that is felt, not flaunted. You build the kind of self-respect that doesn't depend on praise to remain steady. The right people, the right opportunities, and the right moments arrive not because you force them, but because you made yourself the kind of person they naturally seek. You became the kind of person whose discipline, calm, and integrity make them impossible to ignore. Stoicism is not about withdrawal from life. It's about alignment with what is essential. It's not apathy, it's precision. It's not detachment from responsibility. It's deeper engagement with what truly matters. The Stoic lives with inward stability so that external chaos doesn't dictate internal peace. It's about becoming so focused on what is within your control that the things beyond it begin to lose their grip on you. Distractions fade. Drama loses its pull. You stop feeling the need to fix the world around you and instead dedicate yourself to governing the world within you. When you stop trying to chase the world slowly begins to follow your lead. It's not magic. It's magnetism grounded in intention. You stop broadcasting your worth and start embodying it. People trust the steady. They are drawn to those who remain grounded while everything else is spinning. They are pulled toward those who do not need attention, who do not clamor for validation, who do not rush to prove themselves at every opportunity. These individuals offer something rare in a world of noise: quiet confidence, a calm that doesn't demand but reassures. When you master the art of stillness, when you no longer feel the need to react to every shift in energy, every trend, every conversation, you become someone who holds space rather than chases it. When you embody consistency, not just once, but day after day, your life becomes a testament to reliability. And when your presence is an extension of your values. When your actions speak what your words never need to say, you become like gravity. Not loud, but undeniable. Not frantic, but firm. Not everywhere, but always where you are, by me. And in that stillness, you no longer need to chase, you attract because you stand inward with strength. A quiet power that cannot be fabricated or faked. It comes from hours, days, and years of choosing discipline over chaos. Principle over popularity. The world begins to sense your depth not through what you say, but through the still gravity of your being. People recognize substance when they see it, and they gravitate toward it, especially in a world so full of noise, rush, and distraction. Opportunities start to fit rather than force. What once felt out of reach now aligns naturally. Not because you've manipulated circumstances, but because you've aligned yourself so precisely with who you are meant to be. The doors that open aren't random. They are the consequence of your readiness, your reliability, and your refusal to deviate from your standard. The right people feel drawn to your presence because you stood with such unwavering clarity that they knew they could trust your foundation. They sensed you would not shift with the wind, and in that steadiness they found a rare kind of refuge. The noise will always exist swirling around you, tempting you to react, to compete, to prove. But when you become the quiet in the storm, the one who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase, who simply is, you become unforgettable. You become the calm that others seek in their own turbulence. That is how the world begins to follow your lead. Not abruptly, not all at once, but gently, steadily, and inevitably. You don't move toward it. It moves toward you. Audit your week with a single question. Where did I act from alignment, and where did I act from fear? Then ask, did I shine like a lighthouse, or did I chase like a spotlight? Let this question shape your next week. Begin the next day standing still, grounded in virtue, ready to attract what is meant for you.